Madam Vice President, Donald Trump agreed to 3 debates. Will you be participating in all 3?
I've always been on record. I am looking forward to debating Donald Trump, and we have a date of September 10th. I hear he is finally committed to it. I'm looking forward.
What about the other 2?
Let's make sure we get this photo of everyone. Look great.
All right, guys, we have a lot to talk about. So as you guys know, as you guys have observed, Kamala Harris has just pretty much blown off the reporters' questions about the upcoming debate with Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. And clearly she is not up for the debate. She doesn't want to debate Donald Trump. Why? Because she's scared. There is a post that actually just came out recently from Donald Trump on his Truth Social page. We're going to read this one. But Colin Rugg said that Kamala Harris backs out of the Fox News debate with former President Donald Trump, is apparently scared to debate Donald Trump on the network. Now, I want to ask you guys, what do you guys think about this? Is Kamala Harris scared of Donald Trump? Is this why Kamala Harris is backing out of the debate with Donald Trump? I want to hear from you guys on this one. I know she's in the middle of this, DNC, the Democratic National Convention right now. But in all honesty, I mean, it definitely does seem like, and it feels like Kamala Harris is scared. So if we look at Donald Trump's Truth Social page here, it pretty much tells the full story, if you ask me. And you guys let me know if you agree or if you disagree with what Donald Trump is saying here. Comrade Kamala Harris has just informed us that she will not do the Fox News debate on September 4th. I am not surprised by this development because I feel that she knows it is very difficult at best for her to defend her record-setting flip-flopping on absolutely everything she once believed in, including her statements that there will be no fracking in Pennsylvania and her horrible performance on the border. Our borders are where millions of criminals and people from the mental institutions and terrorists have been allowed to pour into our country, totally unchecked and unvetted. It's called, and she loves it, an open border. So again, it looks like Kamala Harris is backed out in spite of the fact that she says she's down.
Madam Vice President, Donald Trump agreed to 3 debates. Will you be participating in all 3?
I've always been on record. I am looking forward to debating Donald Trump, and we have a date.
What a liar, guys. What an absolute liar. You guys let me know what you guys think about this. She said she was going to have this debate and then she backs out. So anyway, we got a lot to talk about today, guys. If you haven't already, please take a second, hit the like button for the video. I totally appreciate you guys. So let's go ahead and dive in right quick. Take a look at this protest here. This is all ahead of Kamala Harris's DNC, the Democratic Nomination Convention here in Chicago. Oh man, they're protesting. This is taking over the DNC. And take a look at some of these people who have jumped on Kamala Harris's DNC stage right before her rally or speech.
Are y'all gonna do better than that? Mike, good morning! 150,000 people are dead! You are funding a genocide!
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
There's so many Trump supporters in my comments right now asking me dumb questions.
Hold on a second, guys. I know a lot of you guys are thinking, and I say this because I've looked at some of my previous comments. When you see this girl, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Look at her face. Look at her eyes. Look at her hair. Look at where she's at. Okay? Now, be honest, guys. What are you guys thinking, right? Now, I want you to listen to what she's saying. Listen very, very closely to what she's saying. And then I want to hear your opinion on her conclusion of this, okay? So pay attention, guys. I'm gonna roll this back just a second so you can get the full context.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
There's so many Trump supporters in my comments right now asking me dumb questions like this because they clearly don't understand how the economy works. Let me explain how it's perfectly feasible for Kamala to give everybody free money.
Kamala can wave her magic wand and build millions of new homes across America.
By the end of my first term, we will end America's housing shortage by building 3 million new homes and rentals that are affordable for the middle class. In addition, while we work on the housing shortage, my administration will provide first-time home buyers with $25,000 to help with the down payment on a new home.
Kamala spent $8 billion and she built 7 charging stations. You think she can build 3 million homes? The guy she's running against builds things for a living. If you want a new home, I'd vote for that guy. And she's going to hand anybody who wants to build their first house a check for $25,000. Do you hear that sound? If you listen closely, that's the sound of every home seller raising their listing price by 25 grand.
You unveiled some economic policies last week.
Yeah.
Can you explain how you're going to pay for those? And can you give us a sense of what other policies you want to unveil going forward?
Sure. Well, I mean, you just look at it in terms of what we are talking about, for example, around children.
If you'll look at this chart behind me, you'll see a weather map, and you can clearly see here that almost every day in the US it rains. Like all over the country it rains. Okay, and what do we know happens after it rains?
Rainbows.
One of these things pops up. Okay, what Kamala's planning to do is when the rainbow comes up, we're gonna have a task force of people go out to the end of the rainbow where they will find one of these. These kind gentlemen have been giving out pots of gold to us for generations, and what happens is the other politicians have known about this secret and they just take the gold for themselves, like they don't even share it. But what Kamala's planning to do is pump these pots of gold into the economy and back into the hands of the American people. And I commend her for that.
Brilliant.
So y'all need to get woke, okay? It's time to be unburdened by what has been.
All right, guys. So, of course, we have to talk a little bit about what we just watched, okay? Now, a lot of you guys have looked at this before and based on the comments, right? Basically, she's being very sarcastic, guys. She's being very facetious at this moment. She's kidding. She's pretending. She's basically, she's making fun of Kamala Harris right now. So it's basically like a parody. So it's not, she's a smart girl. So don't let the silly story fool you. That's all I'm saying. So don't eat her up. Basically she's calling out Kamala Harris for being an idiot. So you guys let me know if you think Kamala Harris is really, really smart, or if you think she's a complete idiot and and should not be running our country. You guys let me know in the comments down below. All right.
To be unburdened by what has been.
Our country has come a long way since President Biden and I took office. Many Americans don't yet feel that progress in their daily lives. Costs are still too high. As president, I will take on the high costs that matter most to most Americans, like the cost of food. A loaf of bread costs 50% more today than it did before the pandemic. Ground beef is up almost 50%. I will work to pass the first ever federal ban on price gauging on food.
And if that didn't satisfy her communist cravings, Kamala is also proposing giving first-time home buyers up to 25 grand, aka your hard-earned money, so that they can buy a house.
While we work on the housing shortage, my administration will provide first-time home buyers with $25,000 to help with the down payment on a new home.
All right. Also, guys, what we got to talk about here is there's a comment we got. everybody just say hello in the comments. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, make sure you're still subscribed, yada, yada, yada. Do all that YouTube-y stuff, right? I thought she was hilarious too. Somebody said, no one you know, I thought she was hilarious. But there was a comment that we got from Lurky talking about, unfortunately, the Dems leprechaun is Chuck Schumer. How many of you guys think that the Dems leprechaun is Chuck Schumer? Let me know in the comments. But here's the thing, guys. There's something that I wanted to absolutely share with you because I thought it was pretty funny. I don't know if you guys are going to find it funny too, but there was this post, and I'm just going to go ahead and share it with you guys. Take a look at your screen right now. Wait, am I on the right screen? Am I sharing? View tab. Oh, that's right. I gotta click over here. My bad. I'm still getting used to this software. So check this out. You got you got this post here, and it's like, look at Chuck Schumer's ugly wife, one of the ugliest I've seen. Now, I'm not trying to call out the man's wife. That's kind of like mean, but I'm just saying, like, what do y'all think? Y'all let me know in the comments down below. And I brought this up because of this last comment, this recent comment that I got from one of you guys in the comments of our live right now. The Hodge twins. I don't know how many of you guys follow the Hodge twins, but they say that she looks like a dude. Do y'all think that Chuck Schumer's wife looks like a dude? I can't say that phrase. Dude looks like a lady. Kind of reminds me. What was that? That old school movie with Robin Williams. Anyway, y'all let me know what you think about that. All right, let's get back to it though.
We can do this. All to help more Americans experience the pride of home ownership and the financial security that it represents and brings. So that's my plan. Together, we will build what I call an opportunity economy.
When it comes to food, another strain on family budgets, Harris vowed to impose a ban on what she called grocery price gouging. The average cost of a pound of ground beef has risen 44% since 2019.
That's supposed to be like one of the cheapest meats you get, and somehow it's gone up to...
The Harris campaign hasn't provided many details on how these plans would work or how much they would cost.
And that's the big question mark, folks. Vice President Kamala Harris has finally laid out her plans, and we have no clue as to how she's going to make them work. There's also something we got to talk about, really serious here, okay, guys? The other thing we got to talk about is Kamala Harris changing her mind, and she keeps doing this, right? So check this out, guys. So Kamala Harris supports President Joe Biden's 44.6% capital gains tax proposal. Now, this is scary because, let me bring this up. And this is scary because Kamala Harris refuses to talk about her policies. She doesn't want to talk about policies. And the people who actually support Kamala Harris, there's actually a lot of billionaire Democrats that are big money donors to the Harris Tim Walz campaign, and they don't want her talking about her plan. But here it is, guys. Look at this. Came out yesterday, a couple hours ago, actually. Kamala Harris supports President Biden's 44.6% capital gains tax proposal. Now, if you guys are thrilled with your finances, if you're really happy with the way the economy is, go ahead and vote for Kamala Harris, because whatever you're dealing with today will be likely 2 times, if not 10 times worse than that if she becomes president of the United States. Now, I gotta show you some of the details in this article here, right? So check this out. So Vice President Kamala Harris has declared her support for President Joe Biden. Let's see. Make sure I'm not muted. Okay. Vice President Kamala Harris has declared her support for President Joe Biden's 44.6% capital gains tax proposal. Now, guys, if you're approaching retirement, if you're on Social Security, if you're anywhere near retirement, this is going to hurt. Okay, this is going to eat up your retirement. So any kind of money you might have socked away is going to be decimated by Kamala Harris's plan. Okay, 401ks, IRAs. If you got brokerage account, if you're selling property where capital gains tax would be assessed, this will literally steal half of your money, and it's scary. It really is scary what Kamala Harris is proposing. This proposal will be the highest in history. And the thing that's really scary is that there are a lot of ignorant people who are not paying attention to what Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and Joe Biden have done and are planning to do. Okay. This also includes a 25% tax on unrealized gains for high net worth individuals. This is crazy. They want to tax folks 25% tax on profits that haven't even been earned. That's what a 25% tax on unrealized gains means. Okay. We can't let this happen, guys. This is literally theft from the American people. This is completely un-American. This is socialism. This is communism. And this is why I call her Commie Kamala. All right. This is just, guys, okay? Harris's campaign, check this out. Harris's campaign shared support for the tax proposal as the 2024 president Democratic nomination. I can't even talk. Harris's campaign shared support for the tax proposal as the 2024 Democratic National Convention is underway. Harris spoke Monday at the event in Chicago along with President Joe Biden. The Democratic nominee has also proposed tax cuts beyond Biden's budget. Now, these include an exemption for tipped workers. Now, we got to talk about this just for a hot second, because this is a stolen idea from Donald Trump that Kamala Harris is trying to pass on as if it's her own idea. Okay. Anyway, she's also trying to get this $6,000 tax credit for parents of newborns. Now, here's the thing, guys. These are proposals. You got to ask yourself, if she was really going to give, and again, you give out too many tax credits, this ends up, coming back to bite us, right? But again, I got to ask this question. She's already in the White House now. Why didn't she already pass the $6,000 tax credit for parents of newborns already? If she really wanted to do this, right? So number one, she's leveraging you guys as voters to kind of like bait this in front of you. Oh, vote for me and I'll give you the $6,000 tax credit. Or she's just lying and she's not going to do it even if she did become president. She's using this as bait, period. She's also saying that she wants an expanded child tax credit that the Biden budget doesn't extend beyond 2025. So, I mean, you guys let me know if you trust Kamala Harris. Vice President Harris also proposed bumping up the corporate tax rate to 28%. Her campaign said Monday. The current corporate tax rate is 21%. This is down from 35% after Donald Trump signed the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which will expire after 2025. But here's the thing, guys. Most people are happy with the way Donald Trump was running the economy and how their finances were under the Trump administration. James Singer, a spokesperson for the Harris campaign, said in a statement of Harris's proposal that unlike Donald Trump, whose extreme Project 2025 agenda would drive up the deficit, increase taxes on the middle class by $3,900, and send our economy spiraling into a recession, her plan is fiscally responsible. Is a fiscally responsible way to put money back in the pockets of hardworking people and ensure billionaires and big corporations pay their fair share. Now, I got to pull that apart here because number one, comment down below if you have heard Donald Trump at least one time say he doesn't know anything about this Project 2025 and that he has nothing to do with it. Because I heard him say that. I heard Trump say he doesn't know anything about this Project 2025 and that he doesn't have anything to do with it. And it's the Democrats that are trying to push this agenda on him, this Project 2025. Okay. The other thing she brought up is that this would drive up the deficit. Well, we've already seen what the Biden and Harris administration has done with the United States deficit. They've driven it up tremendously higher, by the tune of trillions of dollars more than where Donald Trump had left it upon his exit of the White House. They're saying that they're going to be increasing, that it would increase taxes on the middle class by $3,900. I have not been able to fact check and validate that. I don't think that this is true, to be honest with you guys. And they're saying that Donald Trump's Project 2025 plan would send our economy spiraling into a recession. Now, again, Donald Trump doesn't claim any ownership or knowledge of this Project 2025, okay? But they're claiming that it would send our economy spiraling into a recession. Now, again, these are threats coming from the Democratic Party. And the thing that gets me is, like, this is related to the economy that most people, and y'all let me know if I'm right or wrong, most people have actually said that Democrats alike, not just Republicans, not just conservatives, Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, liberals, independents alike, have largely said that the economy and their personal finances were better under the Trump administration. Now, you guys let me know what you think in the comments down below, if you think Donald Trump did a good job with the economy. In other words, she's basically pandering to what the voters want to hear, but that's not what we need to hear. What we need to hear is how they're going to get from point A to point B. Her statements were so controversial that even left-leaning news outlets were besides themselves when she revealed them. And guys, if you haven't already, please take a second, hit the like button for the video. Thank you so much for sharing this video and for subscribing to the channel.
Princess Kamala wasn't supposed to have plans, or whatever those plans were. She was supposed to hide them until after the election. But now she wants to pick the price of bacon? Kamala knows what a head of lettuce should cost, even though she hasn't been in a grocery store in 4 years. The princess just waves her magic wand and poof, a loaf of bread's $2.50. Why didn't anyone else think of that? Well, a lot of people did. And it's been a disaster every time. 2,000 years ago, Roman Emperor Diocletian put in a price control, punishable by death. Prices went up, and merchants started selling goods on the black market. The Soviets tried it too. That ended in bread lines. Even President Nixon gave it a shot.
The time has come for decisive action, action that will break the vicious circle of spiraling prices and costs. I am today ordering a freeze on all prices and wages throughout the United States for a period of 90 days.
Nixon's price freeze triggered shortages and even more inflation. And then 90 days later, he got rid of them. In Venezuela, Hugo Chavez went on a socialist spending spree, which sent food prices skyrocketing. So he had the same idea as Harris and capped food prices. And Venezuela went from one of the richest countries in the world to one of the poorest. Price control.
And this is pretty much what Kamala Harris wants to do to America. She wants to make America one of the poorest countries in the world. This is what they're doing. Look at the borders, guys. They're letting any old body come in. She wants America to be the 2024, 2025 version of the Soviet Union. Guys, I hope you guys are watching what's happening here. We're living in some scary times. I'm dead serious. If you're not one of those folks who goes to vote, I think that this needs to be the year that you break the habit. You get out there, you're going to vote. As a matter of fact, I ended up getting a early voter mail-in ballot in the mail. I'm going to go ahead and fill that out. Now, here's the thing. I covered this about a week ago, and I had we were talking about Dan Bongino. So Dan Bongino, he jumped on and basically warned us that the CISA has essentially sent out a warning. It's an indirect warning, And his interpretation of the CISA warning is that there's a good chance, okay, there's a good chance that the ballot systems go down on election day. I think it's November 5th, right? So what he's saying is we need to go out here, we need to get out here, we need to bank our votes, okay? Now, this is coming from Dan Bongino, and this is the exact same guy who ended up noticing some very critical things in the observation of the Secret Service during the Donald Trump assassination attempt several weeks back. Dan Bongino is a former Secret Service member, Secret Service agent, and so he knows a few things. Anyway, when I mentioned what Don Bongino had suggested in terms of banking our votes, a lot of you guys didn't really know what that meant. Let me know if you guys understand what the bank your vote statement means, the phrase bank your vote. Y'all let me know in the comments. So for those of you guys who might not know what bank your vote means, it basically means to essentially do early voting, because I didn't know what it meant either. I just Google searched it, and it basically just means to vote early, but it's not a common phrase, so a lot of people didn't necessarily know what that meant. But I just wanted to clear that up because I feel like, we don't necessarily have, we definitely have between the two choices we have, and I've heard word, y'all let me know if you have heard this too, RFK Jr., he's probably going to be ending up dropping out of the election any day now. That's the rumor that I'm hearing. RFK Jr. is going to be dropping out soon. But so basically you only have two candidates to choose from. You got Donald Trump, and you've got Donald Trump and JD Vance on one ticket, and you have Kamala Harris and Tim Walz on the other ticket. Now, there's no way in the world I'm ever voting for Kamala Harris. And I'm not saying Donald Trump is perfect, because he's not. But I'm saying between these two candidates, I think that the choice is very clear. So I'm gonna leave it right there with you guys. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say on that one.
Aren't a new idea. They're just a bad one.
It is a device that governments have repeatedly resorted to try to cover up the effects of their own policies. It is offered as a cure for inflation. It is not a cure for inflation. It has never been a cure for inflation. It is an alleged cure that is far worse than the disease.
The government setting food prices didn't work for Rome, the Soviets, Nixon, or Venezuela. But Kamala thinks she can just wave her magic wand and voila, capitalism disappears. This was her campaign's first opportunity to show us her economic vision, and it turns out she's blind as a bat. We all waited a month to hear what Kamala believed in, and she finally told us it's communism. After Kamala said she was going to choose the price of cheese, Bernie Sanders released a statement calling it a very important step forward.
Look at Bernie's face.
The princess doesn't understand basic math. She thinks supply and demand means when she demands something, the intern supplies it. Kamala's communism would have come out in a primary. And for those Democrats watching, a primary is when politicians compete with each other and do interviews, take questions from voters, and tell us what they believe in. But why bother with democracy when coronating a mysterious princess makes it easier on the Democrats and much easier for her?
And we haven't even talked about how she trashed her own policies, as she acknowledged just how far costs have come. All of these costs going up happened under the Biden-Harris administration. And now we're just supposed to believe that voting for her as president is supposed to be like miraculously solving all these problems? Nobody's buying that. Now, one method that she's suggesting is that the federal government will be in charge of fixing the price of most commodities. Something that doesn't sound very American. Actually sounds quite socialist or even communistic. And guess what, guys? Even liberals are aware that this isn't the way for her to win the White House.
You know you've crossed the line when the liberal Washington Post calls you a commie. Check out this headline they wrote. It says, quote, "When your opponent calls you communist, Maybe don't propose price controls. And even CNN's calling it a gimmick.
First of all, nobody can explain what price gouging means. You've seen this kind of thing tried in lots of other countries before: Venezuela, Argentina, the Soviet Union, etc. It leads to shortages. It leads to black markets. The specific way this bill is written might actually increase prices.
Reasonable people would ask, what does that mean? What does that really mean? And how is the government going to be involved in it? Is this just a ploy? Because it sounds kind of like it.
Besides that, analysts who believe that Harris doing this would actually work, they're getting called out on live TV, guys. So here's what Jessica Tarlov said about both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris when it comes to upbringing.
And you take the contrast of yesterday. So you had President Trump, someone who grew up a millionaire, became a billionaire, standing in front of his golf club, ranting and raving about everything, lying about everything from, GDP rates to poverty rates to energy production, et cetera. And then you have Kamala Harris, someone who's talking about her middle-class upbringing, the fact that her family rented throughout their lives, so she knows what it means for people out there who can't get on the property ladder, someone who worked at McDonald's through college. You couldn't have the starker juxtaposition between these two candidates. And then on top of it, she's saying to people, I feel your pain. I know how much things cost.
You heard that right, guys. She said that Donald Trump went from being a millionaire to a billionaire, admitting that he's a good businessman. And this is what Greg Gutfeld pounced on because it makes sense to have somebody like that in charge of the economy. Check out how Jessica Tarlov got exposed here.
First, I want to point out something Jessica said, that Trump began as a millionaire and now he's a billionaire. I think that makes him an expert in this. I would rather listen to somebody who began as a millionaire and is now a billionaire than somebody who doesn't have a damn clue about economics. I've never heard a candidate today more unsure of themselves on a topic than Kamala Harris. I think she's been burdened by the weight of expectations put on her by the media. I've never seen a better campaign ad for Trump. She's campaigning better for Trump than Trump is. First, let's talk about the down payment issue on the House. A lot of this stuff is infuriating because they're treating the American public like idiots. She makes a proposal that is only half an equation. The first half is, here's a nice thing for you. The second half is missing, who pays for it? You saw this with student loan theft, described as forgiveness. Who paid for it? You paid for it. You see with immigration policy, who's footing the billions and all that free stuff? You're paying for it. Nothing is free. Nothing is free. And the sooner or later you figure that out, the better off you're going to be. And that's directed at Democrats who don't understand that these policies are going to sink this country. If you cap prices, you increase scarcity by diminishing competition. People can call her a communist, but you gotta explain this because the media won't ask the follow-up questions. How do you plan on doing this? Please give me an example. Give me an example where industries got together in a room and decided to drastically increase prices. That doesn't exist. The only example they'll have is, a bodega raised prices on umbrellas when it rained. That's all they got. There is no payoff for industries to artificially inflate their prices because the people who drive the prices are the consumers. That is, if you want to understand supply and demand, it's the consumers who drive the prices. There is absolutely no debate on this. There is not a single economist who would agree that this is the right thing to do.
Now, I would call that a mic drop moment for Gutfeld. And just to kind of really make the point clear, even CNN is worried about these policies, mainly because Kamala Harris is admitting that Bidenomics did not work at all.
Now that you've heard the speech, what stands out to you as the most clear and effective line of attack that we're likely going to hear from Republicans as a response?
Two things. I think number one, she took a lot of far left positions during her first run in 2019 and 2020. She has, temporarily kind of moderated these through some anonymous quotes from aides saying, well, she doesn't really want to ban fracking anymore. She doesn't want to do this, doesn't want to do that. This new program that she's kind of doing is pretty far left, $25,000, price controls essentially. That's number one. But the other thing is, kind of conveniently forgot she was vice president for the last 4 years when a lot of the housing market crisis was at its worst, when inflation was at its worst. So there's a lot of memory holding that.
Now, that's one question that we need to ask her for sure, guys. You've been in office for some of the worst economic times of our country. Why in the world should we trust you with it for another 4 years? And this is for sure going to be a key conversation once Donald Trump and Kamala Harris heads off into their first debate. But what do you guys think about all this? Should we keep Bidenomics in play? And should we go with Kamala Harris and her proposed policies? Now, on that note, guys, I did a previous video that you guys got to check out. It shows us just where Kamala Harris's loyalty lies. And the bad news is that many people believe it's not with the American people. As always, I appreciate you guys being here. I'll see you on the next one.